3 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you being with us. As Ollie would say, it's raining, at least here in downtown Columbia, South Carolina. It's been a while. We hadn't gotten a lot of rain of late. We had that hurricane come through, and that caused problems. And then for 3 weeks after that, not a drop. Now we get a little bit. Kind of cold out there. But be safe. Elijah will have traffic later. Hopefully you are not a part of it. If you're in the office right now or wherever and not currently mobile, and let's keep everything safe.
Yeah, please don't make me read too much on that.
Yeah. You don't like reading.
Don't like doing it.
No.
I can barely do it.
That's right.
We're lucky I'm here today.
Our buddy Brad Muller will join us in just a little bit. Gamecocks have Coppin State tonight. Gamecocks also got some big recruiting news when it comes to women's basketball. We'll discuss some of those things with Brad in the 4 o'clock hour. Shelly Smith will be with us. Her women's soccer team, fresh off an appearance in the SEC title game. Didn't win, lost 1-0 to Texas. But good game. They beat the regular season champ to get there, Mississippi State, and that pretty much earned Carolina the opportunity to host in the NCAA tournament tomorrow night. I know many of you will be over at the Graveyard for that one. They usually pack them in, and I think unless a few other things may go their way, obviously you need to win, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be it in terms of home opportunities. I suppose there could be some scenario that exists where there's upsets or some such. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to ask Shelly that. I feel like that's a jinx kind of thing.
Like 1,000%.
You know,
yes.
Hey, coach, how can you host another game? Like, well, Jay, we have to win this one first.
Duh.
Yeah.
No.
Which is kind of what I've been saying. Like, hey, South Carolina can't be 9-3 if they aren't 6-3 first, 7-3 first. I guess 7-3 first. They are 6-3.
One comes before the other. It is a cause and effect.
We got a lot of Gamecock football to get to, more sound from the coordinators and players. Shane Beamer will be speaking tonight, of course, at 6 o'clock. Carolina calls. And then we'll have women's basketball after that. Lamont Paris's team will be hitting the road tomorrow for their game Saturday in Bloomington against, at least for now, a top 20 Indiana team. And then the women's basketball team back in action on Sunday against East Carolina. So a busy weekend, and obviously football in between. The men's basketball team plays at 3, so we'll be keeping eyes on a little bit of everything throughout the middle of the afternoon on Saturday. By the way, we will have, in Columbia, we'll have that game for you, Derek and Casey, on 1320 a.m. Football broadcast will be here on the FM in the capital city. Again, I was just telling Terry at the end of the halftime show, Tyler, some of the things that you and I have been discussing this week about this Carolina-Missouri game. Huh?
What did you just call me?
Oh. Elijah. Sorry, Tyler. I was telling Terry and Tyler, Elijah, is what I had in my head.
Okay.
Sorry. You can call me Johnny if you want to for a while. Can y'all see my face right now? I apologize.
I don't know what's redder, the microphone light or Jay's face.
I was telling
It's cool. We haven't done the show
Terry
for over a year.
And
it's cool.
Tyler.
My feelings are only a little hurt.
I knew what I was trying to say. Anyway, I was telling them some of the things that you and I, Elijah, have been talking about this week when it comes to this matchup. And I know there's probably some of you going, hey, Phillips, let it go, man. It's all good. And I hear you. I know some of you are going, yeah, Jay, I know exactly where you're coming from because Eli hadn't lost to South Carolina yet. And like I say, in my opinion, I'm sure there are ways to better quantify this, but in my opinion, only once last season did I think Missouri had the more talented roster. All right? Or that Eli had the more talented roster because he also did it once with Appalachian State. But he's typically either had A, the better game plan, or B, the better team. Right? Team and collection of talent and roster, not always synonymous. And this time around, results would tell you that South Carolina is fairly favored in this game, both in terms of the point spread and the computer projection, which gives Carolina a 70% chance to win this game, favored by nearly 2 touchdowns. And yet, I just have this pensive feeling in me, the butterflies of Eli's going to come do something. So Elijah today has been taking a very deep dive into the Missouri football team. I know some of what he's done, but I don't have his conclusions. And so now, sir, I'm going to put some of this on you to either alleviate my concern or have me and people like me chewing on even like more Tums and Rolaids until such time as things settle down just a little bit.
It is a little inconclusive because you're right on the fact of looking at this game on paper, looking at what Carolina does well, looking at what Missouri does not do well. This is a perfect matchup of South Carolina should win this game by a couple scores. But especially recently, especially with the way they won against Oklahoma, there's something that I have noticed. I've watched the last 3 games that Missouri has played, and Oklahoma, Jackson Arnold fumbled the ball 3 times. Against Auburn, Peyton Thorne fumbled the ball once. Now, in one of those 4 fumbles was Jackson Arnold just not knowing how to hold on to a football. Like, he fumbled himself. He forced his own fumble because he is running and forgot that ball should go with you when running. Right. But on one of those fumbles, I believe it was in the late first quarter, he is on a quarterback draw, so a design run. He is falling down to basically not give himself up, but pressure's coming ahead of him with the linebacker. He's going down, and as he's going down, he may be 6 inches from the ground. Missouri pops the ball out. Linebacker flies in, punches the ball out. On the game-losing fumble for Jackson Arnold, it does appear, and it's hard to tell because you don't get a great angle, but it does appear that the ball was slapped out of his hands. He was getting ready to bring the ball up to throw it, but the ball does not come with him because it gets slapped out. Against Auburn, Peyton Thorne is rolling out to his left. He eventually decides to tuck it and run it, and as he's running it, it's hard to tell if he runs into his blocker and the ball pops out, but you can see a Missouri corner who is being blocked reach around to try to punch the ball out. Missouri is very active when it comes to punching the ball out. That's something that they did. I know every defense does it, but Missouri has been more successful in their last 3 games than they have all year. They've only forced 5 fumbles all season long. A lot of that has come in the last 3 games because they are getting better at punching the ball out. Granted, Lenoris Sellers has been much better at avoiding fumbles. However, what did he do against Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
He tried to prolong a play.
Right.
Ball got knocked out.
Right.
So, if there is a roadmap for Missouri to make this really uncomfortable for Carolina on Saturday, it's that when Lenoris scrambles out, because there will be ways for him to scramble. A, that's been part of South Carolina's offense the last few weeks. B, Lenoris is good at it, so that's why it's part of the game plan. But C, Missouri has, in the last 3 games, to all types of different types of quarterbacks, like Jackson Arnold, Jalen Milroe, Peyton Thorne, have given up pathways for scrambling, right? They don't set the edge very well. They are very prone to giving up large chunks of scramble yards, which are like, oh, that's great. Lenoris has been tearing it up on the ground. He's going to have to, just as much as he has the last couple of games, take care of that football because Missouri now has made more of an emphasis on punching the ball out and forcing turnovers. If there's a pathway to them to win this game, Missouri, or make it close, it's whenever South Carolina's in their own territory and Lenoris decides to scramble, they're going to try to force that fumble and get short field position because their offense as constructed, especially if Brady Cook doesn't play, which it's not looking likely,
right,
will need short field position and rely on their kicker to be able to convert 3 points or get short field position to be able to try to score touchdowns. Now, granted, Missouri has not done a great job of getting into the end zone, but they have been better. They were better against Oklahoma, and a lot of that was because of better field position.
Right.
But the thing that might keep Missouri in this is the defense's way of forcing turnovers.
And certainly I think that's going to be stressed. Again, when guys like you and me or fans are talking about it or anything else, then certainly Mike Shula and Dowell Loggins are talking with Lenoris. Shane's in there talking about ball security. And that's already been a thing for Lenoris. And as he had pointed out, I think after the Alabama game, you don't want to be thinking about it too much, but it did rear its head again. I won't say it hurt South Carolina. And again, a couple of plays later, you get your own turnover, and basically it was a wash. But you can't count on that. Like, oh, don't worry, Lenoris, you go ahead and fumble. 3 plays later, we'll get it back for you. Like, that's just not how it works. And I think you make a good point about what Missouri will attempt to do. And I think that Missouri is going to come in here And, listen, the offensive line has been playing better, no doubt. But Lenoris has also bailed them out a few times where maybe the average quarterback, if you will, does go down or has to chuck the ball away like Pavia was doing. And Lenoris can keep making plays. But Missouri's gonna do everything they can I'll say it this way. They're going to want to stress him out. Yeah. Because it also feels like it's not just being under duress. It's being in an uncommon moment. Like you think of the second fumble at Alabama. You think of the fumble the other night. It was not necessarily – it was when he was thinking, I've got multiple options here.
Yep.
And I say stress. I don't mean that he, panics. But, whatever that football version of that might look like.
The nature of the play is duress. Yeah. That's the nature of the play at the time. One other thing, too, to mention in terms of one thing Missouri has going for them defensively that will help them in this is their ability to not miss tackles. I was just looking at a lot of defensive numbers today, and I saw they missed 72 tackles for the season. I said, is that a lot compared to other teams in their conference? So I looked at every team in the SEC. The 72 missed tackles for Missouri is the second fewest missed tackles all season long. Only Alabama has missed fewer tackles, and they have missed 68.
Okay.
South Carolina's up there with 80, so they're in a good ballpark. They're in the upper half of the league. But you'd be amazed at a lot of the defenses in this league that have missed over 100 this year. So in relation to other teams in the SEC, Missouri is one of the more sure-handed tackling teams. So you're going to have to rely more upon not have to rely as more upon Sellers breaking out of those tackles. Even though Lenoris is Superman, we've seen him put on some highlight reel runs over the last couple of weeks, including the play against Vanderbilt where he's almost down to the ground, breaks out of it, and finds Jared Brown for a 51-yard gain. You won't be able to rely on that as much because Vanderbilt was one of those teams that's missed 100-plus tackles, and Texas A&M has missed around 100 tackles this season. Yeah. Missouri is, with some of the flaws they have defensively, one thing that they are not is a poor tackling team. They are very fundamentally sound on that side of the ball, and that might at least limit some of the magic Lenoris can do. Now, if Lenoris goes out there and breaks 15 tackles like he did against A&M, then that makes it even more impressive.
Sure.
However, just based off what the numbers and the evidence tell us, it will not be as much reliant on him breaking tackles if they are to continue moving the ball.
All right, well, come back on the other side, and, I'm with you 100% on how they'll try to do their thing. I've also noticed one thing about Missouri, and I know you've been looking at their film. So I have a way for Carolina to do some things to Mizzou. But I want to see if what you've been watching matches up with what I'm thinking. So we'll discuss that as we continue on Carolina, Missouri on Saturday. And again, Brad Muller coming up in just a little bit, too, talking tonight's Carolina women's hoops matchup with Coppin. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Homeowners, especially those of you who've been in your place for a while, talking to you right now about Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union and their fantastic home equity line of credit. Holidays are upon us, family and friends coming into the house. Kitchen may need a little redo before that happens, or that guest bathroom needs to be updated, right? So that your mother-in-law doesn't go, when's the last time you fixed up your bathroom? You don't want that. Instead, be impressive, right? No, in all seriousness, they're local. They're not-for-profit. Palmetto Citizens has been helping folks here for nearly 90 years. They know what's up. And their home equity lines of credit can be accessed over a 10-year draw period. You borrow a little bit now. You borrow a little bit later. check out and see what they can do for you, really for all of your banking needs. But a great time to get things fixed up and take advantage of some low rates. PalmettoCitizens.org is the website, 14 area locations. My wife and I are members. We love them. Think you will too. Palmetto Citizens, achieve your potential. Welcome back into the postgame show on this Thursday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Our buddy Brad Muller joining us in just a little bit. He'll have the call tonight as the Gamecocks take on Coppin State in women's basketball. And in the 4 o'clock hour, Shelley Smith will be with us to preview tomorrow night's NCAA soccer tournament matchup with East Carolina. But we'll spend the bulk of our time talking Carolina football, and Elijah just going over some of the things he's seen on film, especially of late from the Missouri defense, which could cause problems for South Carolina. The Mizzou Tigers come in here 7-2, and they're 3-2 in conference play. Now, their non-con wins have all been blowouts. They beat, well, all but one. They beat Murray State 51-0, Buffalo 38-0, and Massachusetts 45-3. They did eke out a win over a good Boston College team, fair to good Boston College team. 27-21. Their conference wins, double overtime against Vanderbilt. A last-minute touchdown against Auburn, 21-17. By the way, the overtime win over Vandy was 30-27, so a 3-point win, a 4-point win. And then last week, trading defensive scores with Oklahoma late. And, again, a last minute, I think with 20-something seconds left, they did edge past Oklahoma 30-23. So, yeah, they've won their 3 conference games by a combined 14 points. When they've lost in spectacular fashion. It's only twice, but 41-10 at A&M, 34-0 at Alabama, and they are coming into another very hostile environment on Saturday. So it's pretty clear that their road games have not been good to them. They have one more road game in conference play next week against Mississippi State. It seems, Elijah, and again, you've done more film study on this team than I have, so I feel like in these 2 games, and I did see extended highlights and saw a little bit of their game with A&M last month, they get, dare I say, dejected rather quickly. South Carolina jumped out to a big lead on LSU, couldn't hold it for a variety of reasons, jumped out to a big lead on A&M, and while they lost it for a little bit, they went into halftime tied, and then obviously the second half was spectacular in a runaway win against the Aggies. What else do you – and really, again, with all due respect, and I'm careful here. I know he's a good coach, and I know they have 7 wins, and I know they're ranked. But a 3-point win over Vanderbilt, a 4-point win over a bad Auburn team, and a 7-point win over a bad Oklahoma team that South Carolina crushed in Norman. And I felt all along last week Oklahoma was going to win that game. Dare I say they should have? I'll be careful there too. What's different about these guys when they get beat? And if South Carolina finds a way to do what they did with LSU and A&M in terms of the quick early lead, or Oklahoma, even though that was a different way to jump out to a big lead. Is Missouri done at that point? What else are you seeing body language-wise in some of these things that says, Carolina, just go do what you do and you'll be fine?
Especially if you get out to an early lead, I don't think they feel confident in their ability to come back if they're down a couple of scores. Look, they were down 17-6 when in the Auburn game when they came back and won. However, there was one important detail as to why they came back after being down 17-6. That is because Brady Cook re-entered the game. If Brady Cook does not play, the offense does not have that explosive firework capability that it showed last year.
He's listed as doubtful.
Yes.
By the way.
Even when Brady Cook has played this year, for some reason the offense hasn't had that same explosiveness as it did last year, and some of that might be a result of the offensive line regressing to the mean a little bit. But one thing that I have noticed is that I think the players can tell that they don't have that explosive element to their game this year, and that it's going to be so much harder to come back. And look, when your quarterback that does play, Drew Pine, and your average depth of target is around 6 yards for the season, then you're not really opening up the top of defenses. Right. When you get down a couple scores, you have to open up the playbook a little bit, and I don't think they feel as confident in doing so. Let's use the Alabama game, for instance. Brady Cook gets hurt. It's a 6-0 game, and the first pass Drew Pine throws is to their credit, deep downfield, but it got picked off. And it wasn't just picked off because some safety made a miraculous play. Drew Pine just did not see Malachi Moore standing right where he was throwing the ball. I think he was anticipating Luther Burden breaking in to the middle, closer to the middle of the field, so he can maybe lead him a little bit. But Luther Burden didn't even have time to break because by the time the ball got there, it was in the chest of Malachi Moore to the spot where Burden was supposed to be. And he just straight up did not see Malachi Moore standing there. There was a little bit of dejection there. I remember even watching that play and being like, well, if that's his first throw, they're in for a long, long afternoon. Like they are in for a long game. They tried throwing down the field later in the game too, down, I believe it was 13-0 when they were down at this point. Luther Burden has a one-on-one with a cornerback on the outside. Luther Burden gets about a step on that corner, but the entire time it was a play-action play, so after he faked the handoff, his eyes were glued to Burden the entire time. By at least 15 yards down the field, he was looking at Luther Burden. Telegraphed the pass, a safety in cover one read it, picked it off, pretty easily. It was an easy read for the safety. And I think at that point, Missouri kind of realized we can't stretch the field like this. They're able to get down into the red zone once, get down the goal line, and then tried to run the ball 3 times and ran into a brick wall of Alabama defenders and couldn't get into the end zone, securing the shutout for Alabama. But I think body language-wise, in the Alabama game, you learned pretty quickly they knew that they were not going to be able to have the same offense as maybe if Brady Cook was playing.
Right.
And then the A&M game, I think they lost that game when a long touchdown pass to Luther Burden was called back because of an ineligible man downfield. They did the thing a lot of teams have done on RPOs this year where a lineman gets a little too eager with blocking and is a little too far downfield by the time the pass was thrown. Luther Burden caught the ball, ran at 75 yards. That would have made it like 14-10, I believe. So it would have given them a lead. But after that, they obviously did not believe that was a penalty. There was some body language on the sideline that was nothing but pure dejection. And then the physicality wasn't the same after that. I felt like they took themselves out of the game after that play. So, yeah, I think from a body language standpoint, they get down by a couple scores, especially in a road environment. Yeah, they can end up beating themselves. I think what helped them a lot against Oklahoma was that they were at home, and that crowd was great. It was loud at the end of that game. I think that fueled them a little bit. Drew Pine made a couple plays.
And they hate Oklahoma.
And they hate Oklahoma.
There's such a long
They were
history.
waiting for that game. They were waiting a long time for that game.
Yeah.
And there might be a little bit of an emotional hangover from that because that was such a highly anticipated football game, and it was such an emotional football game. Right. Look, the last quarter and a half for South Carolina versus Vanderbilt didn't have to be emotionally charged because you're sitting on a multi-score lead with that defense, which a 14-point lead, might as well be a 30-point lead. So from an emotional standpoint, South Carolina has the edge because they're going to be at home. It's going to be a great crowd. The second half will be, really the last 3 quarters, will be played under the lights. It's going to be an awesome environment. And I think if South Carolina takes advantage of that early, then they'll have Missouri right where they want them because I just don't know if Missouri has that type of fortitude with this team built as constructed to dig themselves out of the
Yeah, the light show will be in full display even at kickoff because after 4 o'clock this time of year, the lights will certainly be on for television purposes anyway. But you'll get a hand. But yeah, you're right. Certainly before halftime, it'll be going. And I think you make another great point about Oklahoma that I think we haven't touched on enough. Because, again, for decade upon decade upon decade, Missouri and Oklahoma were in the old Big 8, obviously in the Big 12. I know it's been a dozen or so years since Missouri has been able to play Oklahoma. But yes, the anticipation for that one in Columbia, Missouri was big ever since the schedule was announced. And so I do think that has something to do with it. And as we pointed out, Brady Cook is listed as doubtful, which –
would rank below questionable.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where. Is that which one's first?
Maybe that's highly questionable. Highly questionable and doubtful might be synonymous.
I think there's out and then I guess doubtful, then questionable. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And then you and I were talking like, what's the middle ground of that? And we said it's the shoulder shrug guy.
It's like, or like how they should put like an IDK, buddy. You tell me.
Yeah. I think he's going to. I don't know if he's going to start.
But you think they get down a couple scores that they wheel him out there and they're like, hey, buddy, go as long as you possibly can.
Because they do, even if it's a long shot, they do have a shot at playing for an SEC title.
Enough to empty the clip here with every option you have here in this game.
Because I think, now this is clearly, look, their next 2 are Mississippi State on the road. You should win that one. And then they host Arkansas. And you should probably win that one. So you need this. That's why this one's turned into must win for both of these teams if you want any opportunity. Mm-hmm. And both have very long shots. But technically speaking, Missouri has a better shot because they only have that second conference loss to Carolina's 3. But it's, I've changed my tune. This is a must-win game for both of these teams if you look at the larger postseason implications. There's no question about that. We'll come back around with more sound from the coaches in just a bit, but Dawn Staley's #1 Gamecocks back in action tonight. Our good friend, the voice of Carolina women's basketball, Brad Muller, to preview it and talk about what's going on around the team after a 2-0 start. You're listening to the Postgame Show. The Catos Power Equipment 4th annual Black Friday sale is just days away now. It's going to start on the 18th. So it's not just the Black Friday sale. It's actually going to run through the end of the month from the 18th until the 29th. Let me tell you about some of the things that will be going on. Mid-grade mowers, especially for you guys that are in the business, right? Those that are around $6,000 to $9,000. You're going to save $1,000. Things like the Toro Titan 54-inch with the MyRide suspension system, the Gravely ZTHD. I mean, seriously, these are like, for the big timers. But you can save a lot of money. Gravely Z-Stance as low as $5,800. The fully commercial stand-on unit. You might want of those. Get one of those for my house. High-end mowers, $10,000 and up, usually $1,500 off. Everything steel, 15 to 20% off. You just need to get in and see them. All right, 4012 West Beltline Boulevard, where they've been since the 1980s. Our good friends at Catos Power Equipment. Talking some football, time to talk some hoops now. Our good friend Brad Muller joining us. Might even try to get Brad to weigh in a little bit on the soccer team. We'll talk to Shelly in just a little bit, but always a pleasure. Brad will be on the call tonight as the Gamecocks take on Coppin State. Our good friend Will King just hit us on Twitter, Brad. You know Will, and he said, I don't ever want to hear you say Coppin State again. And I know,
yeah, we've all been, yeah, I get it.
that's number one on the list for a lot of people in terms of heartbreak around these parts. Unfortunately, tonight, as I said to Elijah yesterday, a victory this evening will not exercise those demons of 1997, but they will let Dawn Staley to continue to evaluate her ball club. Chloe Kitts is back after a team violation, so that's all good. And, now it's just a matter, I think, of beginning the grunt work that is ahead for what is still a very brutal non-conference and then certainly SEC schedule. So what's the number one theme of a game like tonight's?
Obviously, I think you just want to see the team get better in certain areas. Last year I was telling Elijah during the break, we were spoiled because the Gamecocks last year came out to start the season against Notre Dame on fire, and it didn't seem like they could do anything wrong from day one. Here, by that standard, there's definitely room for improvement. They didn't really play that well in a lot of areas in the first game against Michigan and Las Vegas. There may have been some distractions with where we were. They improved a lot, especially in the post area in the big win against NC State the other day, a big top 10 win. But, overall, I think you want to see who is going to be that person or people that dominate in the paint for South Carolina. Last year, you knew what you were getting with Camila Cardoso as a starter and then, Ashlyn coming off the bench or whatever it was going to be. You want to see who's going to be that number one consistently in the paint because, Coach Stelly always likes to work from, inside out. And so you just want to see, I think, some more consistency and finishing inside and shoot the ball better. Last year the Gamecocks were number one or number two all season long in field goal percentage. They were among the tops in 3-point shooting, and right now small sample size, just 2 games, but I think they're 13th in field goal percentage in the SEC. They have not shot 3-pointers well at all. I think they're 14th in the league, shooting only 23%. Again, just 2 games, not time to panic. You just want to see your posts be a little bit more dominant when they can be, and you'd like to see the shots falling from the outside from the people that can shoot it well from outside. Last year Raven really picked up her game shooting-wise from the perimeter in addition to all the other things she does. Right now I think she's 2 for 13 from the floor, so you'd like to see some shots fall for her. Tahina Pau has done a great job shooting off the dribble and driving to the basket. You want to see a few more drop for her from the perimeter as well because that can loosen things up inside and help solve that problem maybe of letting someone assert their dominance inside.
And then for Joyce Edwards, too, very interesting spot that she's in. Obviously, Ashlyn didn't play in the first game. Chloe couldn't play in the second, so she was relied upon as a true freshman playing her first college basketball games to step in and play a lot of minutes. I know she didn't start the first game, but she started the second game. There's been some ups and downs. 10 points against Michigan, 10-7 is a really good debut, but had some up and downs in the second game with 8 turnovers. Where do you think she's kind of fitting in now that they're starting to have the full roster with Ashlyn being back, Chloe being back to playing again? Where do you see her fitting in and having that growing experience as the season goes along?
Yeah, Joyce Edwards has all the ability in the world. Obviously, she's got great size at 6'3", and just this really athletic frame where it's eventually going to happen for her, and you hope it's going to happen in her freshman year. I'm sure it will. I think the big thing with her is maybe sometimes she tries to do too much when she gets the ball in the post, maybe trying to make too many moves, and that allows defenses to collapse, 2 and 3 players on her when she's under the basket, and that results in some turnovers here and there. I think with her, it's just be confident, get it, put it up, and if they foul you, hey, go to the line. You're a good free throw shooter. So I think with her, it's maybe just being confident and not trying to do too much. Go in there, if you get the ball in the paint, go put it up. You don't need to make third and fourth and fifth moves if you're defended. See if you get fouled or dish it back out. Maybe some quicker decision making there. But she definitely has all the tools. I know the coaches are confident in her. I think as she makes those decisions a little bit quicker, you'll see the shooting percentage go up for her, and she'll really be a force to be reckoned with.
Talking to Brad Mueller on the call tonight, Carolina and Coppin State women's basketball. Brad will have the call Sunday when the Gamecocks take on East Carolina. That'll also be over at CLA. Let me take you back to the three-point shooting because I know that was even touched on by one of the national analysts this week in terms of why it's so low. I mean, you're there courtside. These ladies. You see them at practice a lot too. Is it a matter of how they've been defended? They've played a Big Ten team and an ACC team, and like they're out there, playing against air. Is it looks? Is it just early? Or what's maybe the number one factor you've seen in terms of why it's not where they want it to be?
It's interesting because even in the Michigan game where they shot it really poorly from three-point range, I think they were under 20% overall, they were actually getting decent looks. It was just in terms of timing of it. I know Coach didn't like the three-pointers early in the shot clock. She didn't really like the shot selection, but they were open looks. And I think you saw some of that in the NC State game as well. It wasn't a lot of shots where some were contested, but some were not. They're just not falling, to be honest. It's just you just want to see them go down. I don't think there's anything to worry about. 2 games into the season, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's just, hey, sooner or later, you hope the numbers are going to catch up. If Tahina Paopao, I think last year shot 47% from three-point range. She's not that far underneath that right now, but you hope the statistics are going to catch up where, okay, she was 4 for 11 on the season, then, okay, she's about to hit 5 in a row. Same with Raven. Raven last year really stepped up her shooting game. I think she's 0 for 7 from three-point range in the first 2 games. Sooner or later, you hope those statistics that she put up last year are going to catch up, and she's going to get hot and hit a few and balance them out. But for the most part, they've been getting good looks. They're just not going down. So it's not so much that they're just they have somebody 6'5" in their face every time they're shooting. No, they've actually had good looks. It's just a matter of knocking down some shots. So not time to panic really. You just want to see some fall down. And with 2 tough games under the belt, they've got some I don't want to say easier, but games you would expect the Gamecocks to have success, in the next 2-3 games before they head out to UCLA in about a week or so.
I want to kind of go back to that first game too, where Dawn talked about loving like a challenge like that early, being in kind of a slugfest. Shots aren't going down. You're playing a really good team who has a player scoring 27 and really challenging them early. I know last year when you started off in Paris and you played Notre Dame and beat them like a drum for the first game, you didn't really get that challenge until a true road game against North Carolina. And then you had some sparing challenges leading up to conference play. But look, you had that game against Michigan. You had to play a top 10 team at NC State. Later on this month, you're at UCLA, or taking on a top 5 team in UCLA. Still have a top 10 team in Iowa State coming up as well. All of this month. But what's kind of the feeling with Dawn, maybe the coaching staff, with a team that, I don't want to say new, you have some new pieces though, facing a challenge like they had these first 2 games early, especially considering what they're going to be facing just later this month?
I think it's just a matter of just settling down. And last year was last year. Of course, tonight, they'll drop the banner. Since it's the first home game for last year's national championship, so you'll be reminded of that. But it's okay. Yeah, now you've got the bullseye on you even more. It's just a matter of just getting into your rhythm and doing what you do in practice. Because they have days where they don't practice well. They have days where they do practice well. It's just doing what you're supposed to do and executing. I mean, this is a veteran team. Again, yes, you still have to figure out who's going to be, the go-to person in the post or go-to people. But they've all been around the block. Most of this team knows what the deal is. They know what it means to play a tough schedule and to play a top 20 team. So none of this is really new to any of them. It's just kind of a reminder. Hey, told you it's going to be tough. Every team is going to be gunning for you. Give you their best game, and you can't go into any game without that laser focus. And I think you saw a good difference between game 1 and game 2 in terms of focus. Even though game 2 was a tougher game against NC State, I think the team executed things better offensively and defensively. Even when shots weren't falling early, I felt like they were executing things, running the offense better than they did. Now, they haven't been able to get out in transition as much the first couple of games, so maybe if they can get into that kind of rhythm as well these next couple of games, maybe that gets them, feeling a little bit better than themselves. But really, it's just about improving in the execution, and I think we saw some of that from game 1 to game 2.
Have a great call tonight. Again, Brad will start the broadcast here in Columbia on the AM at 6:30, and then as soon as Coach Beamer's call-in show is done, we'll switch over to 107.5 The Game for the Gamecocks and Coppin State. Appreciate you as always, man. We'll talk soon.
You got it. Thanks so much.
You bet. That's our buddy Brad Muller, SCBrad92, to follow along on Twitter. Coming up on the other side, if you're not feeling good about yourself, is the right thing to do to just create some type of chart that says you're awesome? Well, somebody has. And we're still trying to figure out what it means. And we'll explain when the postgame show returns. Eleven minutes in front of 4 o'clock here on a Thursday afternoon. Do want to remind you tomorrow Elijah and I will be out at Columbia Craft. Always fun to get you ready for the games over with our friends there at one of our favorite breweries. Speaking of which, the brand new craft beer card has arrived, and Columbia Craft is a part of it. And now they're just $59. You're saving around $300 on some great craft beers all across the Midlands. You can pick one up at 1075thegame.com. We'll be offering one up tomorrow as part of the Wild Card Showdown, which
Someone's
we'll
got to
do
win it
live in the 5 o'clock hour. So looking forward to that. And a whole lot more tomorrow from Columbia Craft. So Florida State not having a good year in football.
Is 1-9 bad?
It's not very good. It's not terrible.
Fair.
You know. I mean, they have a conference win. So there's that.
Barely.
Yeah.
It would not have been a conference win last year.
No, it wouldn't have. And they probably shouldn't have. They probably should have lost that game too. But anyway, and as many of you know, in the last year, for a variety of reasons and different subjects, Florida State, my words now, okay, my words, my opinion here, has been acting like a petulant child. They still want you, whoever you are, to believe that this is the Florida State of the 1990s and that everything is awesome, that last year was not an anomaly, that this year is, and everything is great. And so last night they had an online town hall with their booster club, and their AD, Michael Alford, put forth something called the Florida State Viewership Strength Index. Now you may say, "Oh, cool, a viewership strength index. That's a thing." So I went to Google before I did anything else this morning, and I typed in 3 words: viewership strength index. You know what came up?
Probably a whole lot of nothing.
The tweet that I retweeted from a dude who writes for their rival site. Because there's no such thing as a viewership strength index. It doesn't exist.
Sources cited themselves.
And so I threw out, I've gotten no response. I said, is there any actual explanation of how this index, and I put it in quotes, has been generated? Where's the data? The index shows, and again, I have no idea. All right, there's zero data attached to this. Nothing. There might be some somewhere, so I'm not trying to be a complete jerk here, but Elijah made a great point when he and I were having our show planning meeting today. He's like, this is like doing a report in school, high school, college, whatever, but then citing no references. Just, oh, yeah. How'd you come up with this?
Believe me, bro.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Just take my word for it. The Viewership Strength Index shows that Florida State would be and by the way, they have scores attached. Their viewership strength number, I don't know what.
A totally non-made-up number.
Is 128, because that's good.
I mean, that sounds high to me.
Sounds great. That would be good for 4th in the Southeastern Conference, 3rd in the Big Ten Conference, and they lead the Atlantic Coast Conference. Now, again, I don't know what it is. Like, for instance, and I told Elijah this too, I understand that a QBR, a quarterback rating, is a thing.
Yes.
How they come up with it, I have no idea. Because some dudes have like these, I'm like, why can't it be like a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 100? And some guy, it's just, anyway. But at least I know there's a metric out there, and I'll trust the mathematicians. Florida State shows me no work. Florida State just tells me, oh, and again, how you come up with this? What is it?
See, here's the best part. The best part about Bob Ferrante's tweet, I'm sorry, Bob, if I botched your last name.
That sounds right.
But there's one sentence here. Well, not even a sentence fragment here that is doing so much heavy lifting Arnold Schwarzenegger we brought to his knees. And that is the sentence where it says FSU would be up there in the SEC and Big Ten based on the school's research.
Right.
The words based on the school's research here
yes.
is winning strongman competitions right now. Because you know what, buddy? Based off my research, when I put together the American Attractability Index, I'm up there with Brad Pitt, baby. In the terms of male desirability index, my compatibility matches are like Sydney Sweeney and Scarlett Johansson.
Sure.
Based on my research, not anybody else's, mine. And I feel pretty strongly about mine. Mine's 170.
There you go. I was going to say, what's your score?
It's in the neighborhood of Brad Pitt, if we're being honest with ourselves.
All right.
So based on my research, that's where I rank.
So again, they offer no data to tell us that they're, hey, trust us.
And if you're going to make up stats, might as well make yourself number one.
Yeah, just say you're even more popular than Alabama and see what happens. Hour 2 coming up.
Stupid.
Love telling you about our good friends at Integrated Media. Spoke with our buddy Michael Geddes today, and they are inching ever closer, are the guys at Integrated Media, to the brand new Pro Swing location. You see, they do both. They install amazing home theater systems, very secure alarm systems. Now, again, next to world headquarters of Integrated Media in Chapin. They've had Pro Swing for a couple of years, a lot of fun. Now the new location, bigger and better, is opening in Forest Acres in a few weeks. They're still working. Michael called me today, said, come by, see what's going on. I didn't have a chance today, but I will. But I'm looking forward to that. And that's going to be, there's some great gift ideas in there, too, in terms of memberships and some of the things. Again, those details are coming. And, of course, the holidays are nearly upon us now. The parades, the playoff games, the bowl games, the holiday specials, 803-948-8327. Do it all better with our good friends at Integrated Media. And we're anticipating the new Pro Swing. 4 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Shelly Smith coming up in a bit. Drive around the SEC. Got the availability reports last night. Only 4 conference games this weekend, including Carolina, Missouri. So not a big weekend of action. South Carolina concludes their conference slate. I believe Georgia gets theirs done too. Yeah, right. Georgia's 5 yeah. This is it for Georgia. They're 5-2.
Yes.
So,
boy, if they lose that one, they're 5-3. Ooh,
I think they can. Nico Iamaleava is listed as questionable, and then tailback Sampson
Dylan Sampson
is not on the availability report. So that's good news for Tennessee.
Honestly, if Sampson plays and Nico doesn't, yes, it will still be an uphill battle without your starting quarterback, but there is a pathway to win for them to still win that game with their defense being as good as it is and Georgia's defense still hemorrhaging yards, especially on the ground.
I tried to look up some more. Again, look, again, I Florida State, they probably have some kind of research they did for this thing. If y'all just tuned in, last night, Florida State invented something called a viewership strength index. Because like I said, on Google, you can, as any of you know, you can type words into Google and all kinds of stuff might come up. But if you type in viewership strength index, nothing comes up because it's not a thing.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. Now Florida State will tell you it does. And again, Florida State's research tells you that they are easily one of the biggest brands in college football, and they are a big brand. I'm not here to knock that. I'm here to knock Florida State for continuing to believe that they are the Florida State at the height of the Bobby Bowden era.
The sense of self-worth in the scope of college football is so inflated for them.
It is. And again, they don't offer that you just, oh no, trust us. These numbers are totally legit. They offer nothing. Again, I would like to believe you. I am a good person who leans toward giving you the benefit of the doubt. But you got to show me something. President Reagan used to have a saying, trust but verify. I'm kind of that guy. Like, I trust you, but I may need to know, like, how'd you come up with this?
Can you sell me on it still?
Because like Elijah said, and look, Elijah, you nailed it. Again, you think very confidently that all you got to do is just, hey, Sydney Sweeney, just come over for a minute. And I'm telling you.
My handsome index is 175. Yeah. It would be compatible.
I mean, I look at myself right now. I'm like, Jay, you're awesome. I mean, your awesome-o-meter is off the charts. And somebody might go, well, Jay, how'd you come up with that? Me? Well, do you have anything to back that up? Yeah, me.
Me.
Look.
What else do you need to know?
What else? And that's what FSU's doing. Like, if I just say, how'd you come up with this? Well, we just, we looked at some numbers. Which ones? The numbers.
My favorite thing about this.
And they put scores next to it. They came up with a score.
And I love this data based on CFP era.
Okay.
I know what the college football playoff era is, but the data based on the years 2014 to 2024, those are years, man. I mean, data should be based on Nielsen ratings or streaming numbers, quite literally anything that produces numbers. The only numbers of CFP era are just the years 2014 to 2024. And what's hilarious about this, too, is with the numbers that they've conjured up, they expect us to believe that Miami at 99 has the same viewership over the last, the college football playoff era as someone like Tennessee, or even like this year, right? Every single most watched game in college football has mostly been SEC games on ABC.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, it was SEC games on CBS. That's why the rights or the TV rights package for ABC and the SEC was so high because that was the most watched event. Every Saturday was the SEC on CBS at 3:30 Eastern Time. You expect me to believe that the only traditional SEC team that has taken that slot that would be more viewed is Alabama.
Right.
Get out of here.
Yeah, they're crazy.
They have Florida State's assigned number is 128. Georgia's assigned number is 115. LSU's assigned number is 113. You realistically expect me to believe you when you say you are that much more watched on whatever index than Georgia and LSU.
Right.
Two teams that were staples, along with Alabama, of the SEC on CBS. Right. Get out of here. Make it believable, right? Make it the slightest bit believable. Or if you're going to fake it, just make yourself number one.
Yeah,
go all out. If you're going to lie, go all out.
It says the model predicts that FSU would average 20% better viewership compared to Florida when playing the same opponents on the same TV channel. No, it doesn't. How?
My ass. Yeah, sure, I mean, whatever, buddy.
So, again, just show us how again, show your work. That's what your math teacher always said. Show your work.
Data based on CFP era.
Yeah, so, anyway, here's yet another example, by the way, of like if I'm a potential future conference partner, I'm just looking at like,
why would I want to join you?
Yeah, why do I want you to be a part of what I do? You just don't get it. You really just don't get it. And it isn't like somebody can't go back and check their work. So, but again, the viewership strength index, and they came up with numbers and everything, man.
And the numbers they have for Iowa, for UCLA football in the last decade. This is another reason. There's so many plot holes in this. They have UCLA's number at 105 and Florida's number at 106. You really expect me to believe that there is just not much of a difference in viewership data between the Florida Gators and UCLA football?
Right.
Buddy, no, absolutely
they're
not.
Probably, again.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and again, that's why it's delusional. They're probably taking some number just from the fact that UCLA is on television in LA. And therefore, well, anyway.
They have Michigan State as having a higher viewership strength index than Florida and Auburn.
Yeah.
Michigan State.
Yeah.
In football.
Yeah.
Football.
Right.
They've had a few really bad seasons. You expect me to believe any of that?
No.
Come on.
No. Pulling for you, Florida State. And by pulling for you, I mean I'm not. In the meantime, real quick here before we get back into some Gamecock stuff, I don't know where people fall on the Deion Sanders story these days. Personally, I'm fine with Deion and what he's doing. It's different, but it's working this year. They're 7-2. It certainly feels like they're going to be positioned to play for the Big 12 title. And I think they can win it. And I think it'll be great for television if Deion and Travis and Shedeur get into the playoffs. But Deion made news this week on Keyshawn Johnson's podcast when he said he would indeed intervene on Shedeur's behalf in the draft next spring if, and Keyshawn asked him this, so it wasn't Deion's word, it was Keyshawn's, if the wrong team drafted young Shedeur Sanders. Deion's answer, quote, yeah, but I'm not going to do it publicly. I'll do it privately. I'm going to be dad until the cows come home, and with Travis as well. As you might imagine, the Twitterverse exploded with, what a jerk, and let your kid be your kid, and nobody else would do that.
Lots of takery going on.
Eli Manning and his dad, Archie, a obviously very successful NFL quarterback, told the San Diego Chargers back in the day, don't draft me because I'm not going to play for you. Now, the Chargers being what they were back then are like, okay. And so they, as all of you remember, they did, and then they worked out a deal with the Giants, and Eli went on to have a great career and won 2 Super Bowls. John Elway did this 40 years ago. His father was not a former NFLer, but his father was a very high-profile college head coach, Jack Elway, connected to the business is the point. John Elway was also a fantastic baseball player at Stanford. and did have an opportunity with the New York Yankees, at least with the organization. Would he have ever become a New York Yankee? Would John Elway have been in baseball what he was in football? I don't know. Probably not. But, again, I don't know. John Elway worked his tail off to be a great quarterback. No reason to think he wouldn't have worked his tail off to be a great baseball player, too. Anyway, that doesn't matter. He told the Colts, don't take me. So there is precedent for this. I don't think Deion and Shador are going to do that because, for one thing, they're not the best quarterbacks in the draft. Now, John, even, that was a great quarterback class when he was taken. Eli was going to be the number one pick coming out of Ole Miss. I think Shador is listed currently as the third best quarterback currently available. And those things could change based on need and fit and all that. And that's what Deion's basically saying here. Deion played a long time in the National Football League. He's also Shador's dad. If I've got information and or access or whatever at my disposal, and I can use it in a positive way on behalf of my son or my child, and this could be, whatever it might, but in this case for his son, why wouldn't I do it? Why would I step back and go, no, it's all you? I mean, I wouldn't want to go play for Cleveland.
Or Carolina.
I wouldn't play for the Panthers. I wouldn't play for the Jets. I might not want to play for the Giants or the Patriots right now. The Jaguars. Might be some others, but those are the ones that come to mind. Would I even want to play for Dallas? I'm not saying they're going to draft him because they still got a high-priced quarterback who needs to get his knee fixed. But anyway, am I doing it wrong? I know Deion is polarizing, and there are some things about how he does his business that I'm not a big fan of. But in this case, yeah, I would absolutely help my son make sure that he is positioned as best he possibly can be at the next level because there are some bad franchises. Mm-hmm. And again, Cleveland Browns and Carolina Panthers, I'm really, really looking in your direction.
There are some bad ones, but here's the unfortunate truth about being in the NFL, especially at the quarterback position. Jay Phillips, how many quarterbacks can play on the field at once?
One.
How many teams are there in the NFL?
32.
Which means there are only 32 of these jobs on the planet. A lot of those positions are already filled. And we just got done through a draft that drafted, 6 quarterbacks?
Yeah, something like that.
Between, Nix, Penix, somehow. Nix, Penix, Daniels, May, Williams. Am I missing one? I don't know. That's at least 5. I might be missing one. There were so many guys drafted at the quarterback position this year. Those 5 dudes that we can even think of right now in the first round.
Right.
There's not going to be a ton. A lot of those guys are going to get second chances in year 2. Mm-hmm. That's how this works. Mm-hmm. There are not as many quarterbacks with expiring contracts, which teams might feel the need to try again. Trevor Lawrence is signed long-term. Guys like Herbert signed long-term. There's going to be a lot of filled spots in the National Football League. Cleveland will be a position that's open, more than likely, because I don't think, A, Watson might not be ready to start next year, and B, why would you want to start him next year?
Yeah, they're going to have to find a way to, yeah.
You never know about Carolina, so let's say Carolina just in case. They can't get rid of Bryce Young. They want to start over at the position.
Hey, Bryce is on a win streak, man.
He is. 2 in a row. They're going streaking. Down the quad and into the gymnasium. But that's one spot. Look at other places in the league. I mean, again, Denver, a lot of quarterbacks have what they like in place right now at the quarterback position. Washington seems to be pretty good.
I like what Jaden's doing. Yeah.
They're doing a lot of good stuff.
They play tonight, by the way.
Don't think Arizona's going to be in the market for it. I don't think the Rams are in the market for it. Seattle, maybe. But the amount of teams that will be in the market for a quarterback might be slim.
Yeah.
To the point of, yes, I understand Deion wouldn't want his kid playing in a terrible franchise, nor would anybody. But here's the thing. It might get down to just the circumstances in the league right now. Do you want him to start or not?
Yeah.
And that might be the thing. Sometimes his best position to be able to get on the field early might be in a bad franchise, which might have to shift from, hey, don't draft my kid to, hey, if you're going to draft my kid, here's what you need to have in place to ensure that he doesn't become a bust.
I'd use my answer. We'll find out. More Gamecock football coming up. 20 minutes after 4 o'clock here on a Thursday afternoon. Coach Shelley Smith coming up in a bit. Headlines of the day, drive around the SEC, a lot more sound from the Gamecocks. You all have to bear with me here. For those of you who are old enough to remember the old Hulk TV show back in the 80s, there was always the opening line, or in the opening montage, when Bruce Banner, or I guess he was David Banner on the TV show. He's supposed to be Bruce Banner for real. But anyway, would say to the reporter guy, like, Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. We've told you all this before. I don't know if it's bleeding through. I'm going to pause for a second. I don't know if y'all can hear that or not.
It's not showing up on the recording.
Good. There is something. We're on the first floor of a 20-story building, and there is a basement underneath us. And there is some annoying noise that sounds like what, like the Dumb and Dumber thing. Like, you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world? That's what it sounds like is happening underneath us in this building. And it is worse than it's been doing it for like a month. They tell me it's some kind of either boiler or like water heater alarm or something, which again is mildly concerning in the sense that it seems to be directly under where Elijah and I are currently broadcasting, but where all of us broadcast throughout the day.
Me and you can hear it loud. Not loud as
it's loud here. Again, yeah. I told Elijah, I feel like I'm being tortured. It really, this is like again, I'll borrow from another thing from the 80s, like in Empire Strikes Back when they put Chewie and Han in that thing for a bit, and like Chewie's in there with that loud like a alarm thing going off in Cloud City. That's what I feel like right now. Been doing it like steadily for a good 20 minutes, but it's been happening on and off for, again, about a month. Dude. So I'm just, I don't mean to get whatever, but this thing is driving me up the bleeping wall. And again, if it's something bad, then I would love for somebody to fix it so that it ain't something worse.
Yes. I'm telling you, my sanity is already down 3 runs in the bottom of the ninth. This thing is Mariano Rivera. This is going to seal the deal for me to break off into something, unbearable. And now you broke something.
And now something's breaking on my microphone. I think it's the sound waves from this thing have just popped something off of my mic stand.
Must be so strong. The J. Phillips Strength Index is actually at like a 195.
I'm like Vader. I'm just going to stay with Star Wars for it. I'm using the Force. Now I'm channeling the negatives of the Force, and it's just I'm going to start breaking stuff. But seriously, man. Seriously. For a second now it's gone, but it'll be back. So anyway, I just needed you all to know that if you hear like extra agitation, that's why. So here's hoping that it's done for now. Whew, boy. All right. Back on track. 803-404-6100. There's my reset. Gee whiz. What was I talking about? Oh, football. Gamecocks and Missouri. We were talking earlier in the program. Elijah was doing a deep dive into some Mizzou film study and noticing a recent trend of their defenders being able to create a little havoc by knocking the ball out, and how much of a concern that might be for South Carolina. After a couple of weeks of no turnovers, Lenoris did have one last week, and it was kind of a reversion back to some of the things that he had been doing when he was turning the ball over earlier in the season. And it's certainly, one of the more costly moments of the season was the late turnover against Alabama. And Missouri's going to understand this completely and do what they can to make that a thing for them, a positive thing for them throughout the course of the ball game. And what does South Carolina do? Not to so much flip that script, but how do you at least counter it, right? And one of the things that we've also seen is in their 2 losses, which were both blowouts on the road in tough environments against good teams, that they get dejected, do the Mizzou Tigers, and where those things are going to balance each other out. But as I've been saying, this game makes me nervous, not because I think Missouri is as good as South Carolina. Based on what I am seeing, if you want to use the eye test, there's common opponents there. Again, if you take the 2 losses that Mizzou has, Carolina's played those same 2 teams. Carolina is 1-1 in those games with a plus 22 point differential. Mizzou is 0-2 with a minus 65 point differential. So you can't use that alone. It's like, well, therefore. But at the same time, I think some of you would probably say to me, Jay, it's all good. Don't sweat it. Carolina is the better football team, and I believe that. And then somebody might say, yeah, I got a hit from Albert here on Twitter. He said, Jay, I feel like you on the Mizzou matchup. They've had our number for a while now. We have to step up and end the streak as we did with UK in 22. That said, already being bowl eligible has us playing with house money down the stretch. Go Cox. Thank you, Albert. Yeah, I agree with all that. The bowl eligible part is certainly a fact, Elijah Campbell, but as Shane has pointed out, and I think a lot of us have, just going to a bowl is no longer what this program wants to be about. And again, while it is a very, very long shot, if you go 9-3, which is still a big if, and some other things shake out in a rather chaotic world, could you at least be in the discussion? I mean, you're in the top 25. Now, do I think Carolina at 9-3 goes to the college football playoff? No, I do not. Not at this point. And again, it would take a lot of extra help. But, again, the only way to do it is to win the football game. So, and again, getting a better bowl game is certainly still very much there for South Carolina. So, yeah, there's a little bit of house money. But is there more pressure on South Carolina or Missouri when you look at it from that perspective? I mean, because Mizzou, again, only has the 2 conference losses.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure might be more on South Carolina to protect your home field and be able to accomplish something that not a lot of people thought you were going to be able to accomplish this year. I mean, Mizzou's already the underdogs. Really, if anyone's playing with house money in this game, it's Missouri because no one believes they're going to win, and they more than likely will be playing a backup quarterback the entire game who, let's be honest, hasn't looked great in the games that he's had to step in and play this year. They're ones right now where they really, even if they win this game, don't really have a great playoff chance because this would be their best win.
Yeah, for sure.
And with all due respect, obviously, to this team, South Carolina right now is number 21 in the college football playoff poll. If South Carolina was to lose this game, they will be no longer ranked in the college football playoff poll, meaning Missouri's best win will be against an unranked South Carolina
That's a good way to put it.
So
yeah,
this would be bigger for.
Is that the Godfather on one?
That is the Godfather.
All right,
yes, sir.
Is he offering advice?
He figured you needed a friend since the noise downstairs was driving you to the brink of insanity.
Hello, Mr. Glenn.
Jay, I got a little worried about you there for a second. Yeah, I could sense a little disturbance in your voice there.
If you were in here, trust me, dude. Trust me, it was driving me. It stopped for now, thank God.
Could fry an egg on his forehead.
But it was driving me. It was absolutely driving me crazy, man.
Well, I'm glad I called my guy. I told him to stop that.
Thank you.
Stop that nonsense. So we got that taken care of for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, I'm gonna let you give you a little bit. I can understand the concern about this game, but if you look at the line in Vegas, the plus 14, and here's the crazy thing: the fact that Missouri is plus 360. I sent Cloninger out to Vegas with a couple bucks to get some stuff down for me, and I had Georgia Tech last week against Miami that nobody liked, and I only got plus 340.
Oh, all right.
So, like that, the people who do the money really, really, really think Carolina's winning this game.
Well, that's what I think. I think the opposite money line, Brian, is minus 500,
which is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
But also, something that I think people got to understand is if any Carolina fan that's hoping for a potential playoff berth has to be rooting hard for Clemson.
Yes.
It's a lot better if Clemson is, obviously you have to beat Clemson, but if Clemson can win the ACC and Carolina can get the victory, that's going to go a long way.
Huge. It'd be huge. I appreciate you looking out for me, man.
I'm glad you're doing better.
Thank you. Thank you. Best to the family. That's the Godfather, Brian Glenn. That thing, my teeth hurt. Seriously, my teeth hurt. Shelley Smith on the other side is the postgame show.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to that are causing some issues here on the roadways this afternoon. Starting with the ones in Richland County, we have an accident over at Lady Street, it looks like, near Assembly Street. And we also have another one on Hampton Street at Hugh G. Street, one on Hardin Street at US 76 and Divine Street, and then one towards 20 westbound over near Broad River Road near exit 65. Some decent traffic back up there. Got an accident on Kilbourne Road at Fort Jackson Boulevard and on Watling Road at Old Barnwell. And then in Lexington County, we have one more on I-77 northbound near exit 1 and I-26.
Time to talk a little NCAA tournament soccer as Shelley Smith's Gamecocks will be hosting yet again to open tournament play. They'll do it tomorrow night against East Carolina. It's always a pleasure to have Coach on to discuss that and more with us. Congrats on a good run. I know not the way you wanted it to end, but a fifth appearance at least in the title game and a tough loss to Texas. But getting there, Shelley, you had to beat Mississippi State to do it, the regular season champ. So I imagine overall pretty pleased with last week down in Florida, right?
Yes, thank you, Jay. Yes, agree. But, the game of soccer, it's crazy. And, it stings a bit that we didn't win that championship. And, we had just had such a great week. And, I guess we were the upset team beating the number one team, Mississippi State. I hadn't lost in the conference and lost one game all year and just the number one seed in the tournament going in NCAA. So we had a great performance down there and really outplayed the Texas team we lost to. And, but they got the bounce they needed, and that's our sport. Yeah,
y'all hit the post a couple of times. I was watching, and I know that was tough because you went into halftime scoreless. And you've had 7 draws this year, and sometimes you've been the team to equalize. Sometimes it's happened to you. Obviously, now there are no more draws. So where are you finding the good in what you've done in those situations throughout the course of the season and applying it to the fact that can't happen anymore? Where's your team's mindset when it comes to close games?
Yeah, I think all year we did a good job to really battle until the end. And most of those were, some situations where we had come back a goal to continue to play, and it felt like a win at times because you made sure you didn't lose the game. Only a couple were ties that felt like losses, and because we were up a goal. And but either way, we battled to make sure we found a way not to lose. And lately, we've put it a step further and found ways to win games, and that's been real important. I think we feel very prepared for this NCAA tournament, just the way we've been battle tested, and we've won some really close games late here and against top opponents. So it was a good week in Pensacola for sure, but even leading up to that, the last part of our season, we found the back of the net more, which, as you know, is really crucial, and especially when you get on teams early.
And, of course, one of the best parts of this tournament is you get to start off, at home against a good East Carolina team. But you guys have protected home field incredibly well this year, especially as of late. But what's one thing about the environment here that really helps your team, especially when you welcome some really, really talented opponents?
Oh, yeah. I always say, Stone Stadium is probably one of the best places to play collegiate soccer. And the environment, the fans, the energy the fans bring to the stadium, the university does an amazing job to make it a really electric atmosphere in general. But the fans that come out, they've been so supportive, and it is hard for teams to come in here and play us. And we also have a huge amount of pride when we step on that field, and our players feel that, especially when we have so many seniors in this group that know, okay, this is the last time we're going to be playing in Stone Stadium. So they have that much more, desire to go out there and finish in the right way.
I saw Kat Berry tweet out a last opportunity at the graveyard. She's meant a lot to you and seems to be playing really, really well. You've got some youngsters that have obviously done some big things for you, too. And I know this is a refrain that I've had with you for many, many years that we've been talking about your program, but that blend of experience and youth, how do those two things come together, especially for the young ones on your team that have not yet been in this environment? What's it like for them?
Yeah, they definitely feed off of our older players, and so it's been nice to always have that experience of players that have been there and done that and lead the younger ones. And, we rely on a lot of our experienced talent this year, but we also are also relying on some young people to come in and we tell them not to take this for granted. Not everyone is playing still. Even some top opponents that we play against throughout the year are not playing anymore. So they need to, cherish this and be excited about the opportunity to be home and playing in this environment, but do what they've been doing all year. And I know you and I talked about Kat Berry and Katie Shea Collins, who have been our forwards that have really taken on most of our offensive tallies, and Katie Shea's a freshman and Kat's a fifth-year senior, and the combination that they've had is tremendous, and they keep getting better and better, and that's what you need to have a young player come up and keep learning and learn what it takes to play with other players around her.
I'm doing the math here, and I'm not good at math, Coach, but the two of them combined 35 goals and or assists, the combination at least, for those two in 20 games. And Katie Shea, of course, missed a couple when she was with the youth national team. So that's a heck of a lot of production.
Yes, yeah, those two have been great, and they've just gotten better. And that's been a big part of our success here down the stretch. If we had those two in combination early and had Katie Shea out there, that would have helped some of those ties probably turn into some wins. It's a big difference when you've got ability to score goals, and we're relying on other players to step up at different times to score goals, and they have been. They did it last week through the conference. We had defenders score goals, and it makes a difference. But the two of them really put a lot of pressure on the opponents we face. So credit to them and the entire team to continue to battle and put us in this position to fight for more championships.
And then looking ahead to the game tomorrow, obviously every team that plays in this tournament is a good team. But when you look at East Carolina, what are maybe some things that stand out, and what are some things that y'all are going to have to do to not only carry that positive momentum from the SEC tournament into the NCAA tournament, but be able to take care of this first step against a team like ECU?
Yeah, I think it's really important to focus on this one game only. The rest doesn't matter yet. We got to take care of business, and we know as team, the good thing, but also the kind of scary thing is that this is their first time ever making the NCAA, so this means a lot to this program. But they're also haven't been there, and we know how hard that is as well. So we need to take advantage of that, the fact that we're home. You cannot overlook anyone at this point. So the fact that they're there, it's this year's team, and we know they're hungry for it. They just came up with a title they weren't supposed to win in their conference, and they upset the number one team, Memphis. So, they've shown that they can compete and do very well. And so we need to be playing our top game, especially as we start this NCAA run to prove ourselves that we're ready to play here in the postseason.
Is there anything, and I know you can't give it away, so I suppose you could either give me a yes, no, or I'm not going to answer that question, Jay. But with a team that has never done it, is there a way that you and the staff may want to look at how you go about attacking them or saying, hey, welcome to the NCAA tournament, kids?
Yeah. Well, I do think that, yes, we want to put pressure on them right away. We don't want them to get comfortable. And so we're going to come out and impose ourselves, and that's what we've been doing, and we will keep continuing to do, especially on a one-game weekend. This is we don't have to worry about trying to play again if we do win a game. So this is it. We need to focus on these 90 minutes, and we're going to go at them and be aggressive, and that means on the defensive end with our pressure, but also attacking-wise, relying on our players to really be working off the ball and being aggressive moving forward. So, like I said, if we can get an early goal, it's a big help, but we know we prepared the team that if it doesn't happen, we've got to continue to play and just get that one that you need, just like, Texas did against us in the championship. It's what happens, and we've got to put the pressure on.
And as you said, you've been in these tight ones, and you know how to do that. So there's no panic on the club. There's no doubt about that. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock kickoff. Gamecocks and East Carolina, opening round of the NCAA Women's Soccer Tournament. Coach, best of luck. Congrats again, not only on making this event, but for having the program be where it is to where you can host. And this is not the first time, nor will it be the last. So you got a strong chance going in. Happy for you, and best of luck.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You bet. We'll talk again soon. That is Coach Shelley Smith in Carolina and East Carolina tomorrow at 6 at the Graveyard. The tournament getting underway.
The tournament.
Yeah. And I think if they win, hang on, I got the bracket real fast.
If they win, they'll play in the next round.
Yeah, well, that's very true.
You like that?
They would play the winner of Minnesota and South Dakota State.
That analysis doing it for you there.
See what you did. Nice going. It's pretty cool when a dude like LeBron can break one of his own records. And he's older than when he did it last time. Which record? We'll tell you when the postgame show returns. Welcome back into the postgame show. Coming up top of the hour, headlines of the day, including some interesting news from a well-sourced NFL reporter about a current college coach. Not saying it's a thing, but it could be. That'll be in the headlines.
Whispers.
Plus, we'll have more sound over the first half hour of the 5 o'clock from Gamecock football. Meanwhile, listen, LeBron just is beyond special. I mean, if we thought what Tom Brady was doing into his 40s was cool, and it was, what LeBron is doing as he nears 40, he'll be 40 next month, is absolutely fantastic. Now, bear with me because I'm gonna do one of those. Elijah probably knows this already, but it kind of blows my mind. LeBron last night got his 40th triple-double of his career, but there's a caveat because it's not the 40th triple-double of his career. It's the 40th triple-double where he scored at least 30 points.
His 40th 30-point triple-double.
He's had 116 regular season triple-doubles. It's the third one this year. He's 39. He broke a record in the NBA for the oldest to have 3 consecutive triple-doubles. Whose record did he break? Yes, as I alluded to before, he broke LeBron James' record from 2 years ago. The dude is unstoppable, and he can do so much. Last night, 35 points, and he shot nearly 60%, 14 assists, 12 boards. Again, his 4th triple-double of the season in just 11 games. 116 overall, but again, how many guys get to 40 triple-doubles? Period.
No, not many at all.
And here's a guy with 40 where he scored at least 30 points. It is tied for the longest streak of his career. He had 3 in November of 2019. He had 3 in December of 2017, and he had 3 in March of 2009. He is the oldest player, as I said, to do it in 3 straight games. It's remarkable, man. It's honestly, because everybody knows what's up. Mm-hmm. You can't stop him.
No. You know what's even, there's another fun stat from last night, too. And sometimes he's getting to the point where it becomes almost Bonzian with how just wild the stats are. So last night he had 20 points on 7 of 10 shooting in the first half. That was his 368th career 20-point half. You want to do the math? 368. This is from a tweet at Real Chris Michael. I'm going to cite my sources here, unlike Florida State. 368 is about 5 72-game seasons. Yeah. This man has more games with 20-point halves than most players have in their entire career, period. So if you played Anthony Davis, who the most games he's ever played in his career in a season is 72. That is 5 fully healthy Anthony Davis seasons worth of 20-point halves.
It's amazing. That's amazing.
That's stupid, Jay Phillips. That's stupid.
And he never seems to get hurt. He doesn't seem to be tired. Don't forget, he had an amazing summer in Paris.
This is coming off of another gold medal run.
Old dudes, I still can't believe that there's people in the NBA talking about the Jason Tatum thing, but they are. I'm like, how could Steve Kerr have done this to Jason Tatum? I'm like, well, they won the gold medal. So.
Well, because LeBron James is on the floor.
Yeah,
Sorry if you want to choose him over Jason Tatum.
And AD did at least have a double-double last night. He needs to get more blocks and or assists.
My fantasy team would like to have him get more blocks and assists.
Yeah, that'd be well, or just play.
Just play.
That's good that he played.
But I mean, seriously, day-to-day Davis for nothing.
How many? I don't know. You probably don't know the answer either. But how many games has LeBron missed
over his career? I mean, not a lot. I mean, there has been some load management here and there where he won't play maybe the back end of a certain back-to-back. But if you look at just the amount of games he has played in his entire basketball career, you look at the regular season minutes, and you're like, oh my God, that's incredible. That is a whole lot of basketball. But if you go on something like Basketball Reference, for instance, it will not show the complete story of how many minutes he's played in his entire career because they don't include playoff minutes, and I forgot what it was. I did the math a few weeks ago, and I'm trying to pull it up right now before we hit the break. But just like a few weeks ago, I was like, wow, he's played enough games in playoffs alone to account for multiple extra regular seasons.
I was going to say, I mean, he probably has like getting close to 3 regulars. I mean, how many playoff games has he played in?
Let's see. This is
I would venture around 200-ish.
In his career, he has played in, that's shooting, game highs, going to the playoffs. That's playoff series. So he has played in 54 playoff series. Does not have.
Well, then, I mean, let's just say they went 5 games apiece, on average. Then that's 200. Indeed, might be closer to 300 by the time it's all said and done. He's a machine, man.
I want to get the specific number. We'll get it in the break.
Headlines of the day coming up. A lot more sound as the Gamecocks prep for Mizzou, drive around the SEC. That's all in the 5 o'clock hour. Well, it was a little chilly last night. The heat was on. Is yours keeping you comfortable? Is it time for something new, or at least to make sure you get everything going in your current system? 803-677-1500. Call my very good friends at AAA Heating and Air. They have kept my wife and my family and I very comfortable for many years, and they can do the same thing for you. If it's time for a brand new system, Roy and Dana Finley have some fantastic opportunities for you. Guaranteed financing options and a 12-month no payment, no interest plan if you buy in 2024, and not just till the end of the year now. No, you buy it in 2024, you get 12 months of that. Plus the 15-year parts and labor guarantee, a $1,500 system buyback rebate. Fantastic time for you to get that brand new system. Log on to AAAtoday.com. Get a free quote online. Just takes a few seconds. Or, again, call them up, 803-677-1500. Tell them we sent you to AAA Heating and Air.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to, they're causing some issues on the roadways. We're going to start with all the ones here in Richland County, and we have plenty of them. Starting with on Assembly Street at Calhoun Street, Divine Street near Woodrow Street, Flora Drive at Sloan Road, Hampton Street at Hugh G. Street, Hardin Street at US 76 and Divine Street, 20 westbound at Broad River Road near exit 65, 77 northbound at Fort Jackson Boulevard near exit 10, and on Sumter Street near Wheat Street. In Lexington County, we just have 2 accidents causing delays, starting with one on St. Andrews Road near Bush River Road, and lastly, one on Pisgah Church Road at US 1.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome back in. Also, the final hour of the postgame show along with Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you being with us, keeping tabs on what's going on around Carolina and Missouri Saturday afternoon over at Williams-Brice. Do want to remind you that Coach Beamer, Todd Ellis, Carolina Calls tonight here in Columbia up at Backstreets, just up the hill from 5 Points. As I like to do, it's right over that way. If you're watching on the YouTube stream.
You know where it be.
It's right over there, that way. About a mile, give or take. Easy to get to. Fun place. Got a good beer list. They got a good beer list.
Really? Well, it's enough to convince me to go.
So go by, have a pint, say hey to Shane and Todd. And if you can't, it'll be right here on these airwaves coming up in 1 hour's time. In the meantime, let's jump into some sound from Shane's top assistants, Clayton White, Dowell Loggins, speaking ahead of the ball game with Missouri, and Clayton White stressing the importance of being very physical against the Tigers.
We don't have a lot of time to really keep harping back, so it was part of our introduction. We'll probably review it again at the end of this week, right before the game. Go out and remind our guys the kind of game that Missouri is. Yes, they do a lot of formations. Yes, they are a lot of formations, a lot of different plays, but they all at the same time, they're a very physical football team. They've been physical in this conference for a while. They played good in November. They played physical. They won their bowl game against Ohio State. So we hit it at the beginning of the week. We hit it at the end of the week, and then obviously every day at practice. For ourselves, against our offense, we want to play physical, have the physical mindset, more importantly, just understanding what kind of war it's going to be on Saturday.
Listen, I know that we've talked a lot about the last 3 games. Again, Carolina has won those games by a combined 71 points. It has been predicated on terrific defense. There's no question about that, and that will have to continue. I'm taking nothing from the offense, but this defense just continues to so thoroughly dominate. And for as much as I may be again, just thinking about this series and the matchup against this particular head coach, I'm not wavering, right? But I don't see a reason for this defense to stop doing what it's doing. And for as much as Missouri will want to try to keep Carolina off balance, I just wonder where those limitations might be based on the results that we've seen. I expect South Carolina's defense, as we all should, to go out and dominate this game.
Well, especially when you hear that Missouri's not going to be with their starting center. They will have a backup center. That is a pretty important position on the offensive line. Yeah, it may not be in terms of protecting your quarterback from the vicious edge rushers known as Kyle Kennard and Dylan Stewart, but I think we've noticed exactly how good South Carolina's interior defensive line is. I think we know how good Tonka Hemingway is, even if he's not 100%, how good TJ Sanders is. Now, TJ's basically played himself into potentially being a top 1, 2, or 3 round draft pick in the NFL. A lot of signs, man, especially when it comes to a physicality standpoint of this defense against that offense, that point towards South Carolina's direction. Oh, yeah, and there's the whole Missouri's on a backup quarterback. Drew Pine might not be the most physically imposing player on the planet. He has had his fair share of struggles in the last few games. That establishing yourself from a physicality standpoint at Williams-Brice and that environment on Saturday could really set the tone for Missouri to have a really, really bad, not so fun, not so chill afternoon.
And if nothing else, for all of the I don't want to say negatives I've brought up this week, again, going back to the specific matchup against this school and their head coach. But Coach Beamer last week using the not being ranked part as motivation, it's staying in that vein, but with a different subject matter now of we got to stop losing to this guy. And
Like, I'm tired of losing to this guy.
You know, like, I mean, I don't know how much you can generate with that, you know? I mean, will the guys ultimately buy into it? But like I said, for some of these guys, Boogie Huntley, TJ Sanders, Tonka Hemingway, Vershawn Lee, some of those dudes on both lines, and a few others here and there, right? OD, you know, Debo, Mo Kaba. Like, this will be the last time all those dudes see this guy.
You cannot
don't let him leave with that smug look on his face again, right?
Especially in your stadium.
Yeah.
In your home stadium. It cannot. The year you're having, I mean, it almost feels like if you can't beat them this year, when are you going to beat them?
Yeah. You are
so well equipped right now to do this.
Yes. And again, based on common opponents, you do like your opportunities. Again, we'll see. You have to score some points. Gamecocks getting better at that, too. Here is Dowell Loggins on how he sees things coming together over the last month.
We got to play. Got to play. We don't get preseason games. You know, so they got to go play together. It's the only way to fix it. It's the only way to do it is you practice the right way, and practice execution becomes game day reality, just like Josh said. And so for us, it was easy for us to stay process oriented because everyone else wants to look at stat lines and scores and all other crap. Like, I learned this from Matt Hasselbeck in 2011. He just came from Seattle. He said you gotta win as you build. You got to win as you build. Sometimes you got to find an ugly way to squeak a win out against a good team on the road in the SEC. And that, to this point, to make us relevant in November, that's what we've been able to do. And that's the only thing that matters. We're not into style points. We're into wins. So we've been able to do that. And then it kind of started, we kind of started figuring out LSU in the first half, and we couldn't close the game out. And you go to Alabama and go play a really, really freaking talented team, and you see how they're just getting better every week, too. And Kane Womack's such a good defensive coach. But we kind of figured out in that we had some moments of like, hey, wow, we could be pretty good. Then we go to Oklahoma, and we had the Ole Miss game and didn't play the way we need to. And you go to Oklahoma and you win a game on the road versus a really good defense that continues to play well defensively, and you just find a way to win. And then all of a sudden, like, as you start to build confidence, as you start to find ways to win, you start to build confidence, and that's what we've been able to do the last 2 weeks. Now, all that doesn't mean anything if we don't play well this week. We got a huge task and a good defense that's got a really good record. So the message last week was like, hey, great win against Texas A&M, guys, but none of it matters if you don't beat Vanderbilt. And the same message this week, like, you guys are getting better, and we're getting better, and that's the most important thing is control what you can control and get better. But it's another huge SEC game, so we got to go do it again.
Yeah, nice work. Do it again. Good job.
I think you'd get "do it again" tattooed.
I should.
Forehead.
That, and I'm gonna have that on one. I'll get it on the arm. I'll get "do it again" on one arm, and more good players on the other.
Where does the NFL Development League tattoo go?
Well, that'll take like a whole story, so I guess I'll have to get that done on my back.
Yeah, where there's a little more space to operate.
Yeah.
Or you could just do, your like left arm as a sleeve.
Yeah. I don't know.
Get it in like some cursive Declaration of Independence type font.
I don't like pain all that much, so I'm not even sure that I would get a dot tattooed on me, to be honest with you.
I don't hurt that bad. I say that as someone who doesn't have any tattoos. I'm just trying to coerce you into making a decision I know you're going to regret. I'm trying to get you to make a decision that you will regret.
Yeah, I think that ship has sailed. Yeah. Sorry.
You know what? I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up.
All right.
I
appreciate that. We'll have more from Clayton and Dowell coming up in just a few minutes' time, including some interesting stuff from Dowell on the progression of Gamecock quarterback Lenore Sellers. Continuing our integrated media headlines of the day, Dawn Staley's #1 basketball team hosting Coppin State tonight. I know that maybe the word state isn't a bad word around here, but the word Coppin is. Again, nothing that happens tonight will erase the sting of a few years back. Nevertheless, Dawn Staley's team, I say quietly in jest, obviously, quietly, Elijah, won 40 basketball games in a row. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Ever since they lost that Final Four game, no L's taken, a couple close calls here or there. But this is going to be fun to see exactly how far they're able to stretch it. Realistically, just looking at the schedule like we did earlier, with Brad, like they've got so many tough games in the schedule. It'd be hard to believe they go undefeated this year, but you beat Coppin State, it's at 41. You beat East Carolina 42. I mean, you take care of Clemson like you did last year, that's 43. And then you're on a 43-game win streak going to UCLA. and then a game against Iowa State at home, or it's just versus Iowa State. I don't know if that's a neutral one or not, but you play Iowa State, you can get through those two, and then you're at a 45-game win streak, and then you're in the neighborhood of making some pretty serious history. I think the record is, 121 for UConn? They were like on a 121.
Yeah.
It'd be a long time to get to there, but it'd be really cool to get to the old UCLA men's record, which was 88, I believe, before they lost to Digger Phelps and Notre Dame.
Yeah.
That was a basketball game. Remember it like it was yesterday. But you're halfway there almost to that milestone, which is serious basketball history, which is some serious dynastic history there.
It is. 7 o'clock tonight, 6:30 on the AM for Brad's pregame show, 1320 AM here in the capital city. And then again, as soon as Carolina Calls is done, we'll switch right over to Brad's call of the game on 107.5 here in Columbia. And, of course, many of you will be over there. And tonight they are raising the banner for that championship run from last season. So enjoy that.
Excited to see what it looks like.
Yeah, should be pretty cool. Tonight, just before 7, they'll be doing that for you.
I want a banner to take home. That'd be cool.
They are giving away replica banners. So if you didn't know that, I think 3, I don't have the, oh man, I know Diana put out a release about that, but they are giving away like little replica banners tonight when you go in at like 3 of the entrances. So
I want to take one.
Well, just
snag one.
Just you want to roll over there real quick?
Yeah, let's go grab it.
Get over there. Just tell Brad to get you one. He'll do it.
Sure, Brad's listening right now. Brad, snag me a
Brad's
banner.
so nice. He'll just get everybody one. Just be handing them out at work tomorrow.
That would work too.
You know, and if Brad could, Brad would probably pay to get more printed. That's how nice Brad is.
Yeah, just to appease everybody else.
Yeah,
Nicest man on the planet.
I'd go steal them and put them on eBay. Brad be paying for them out of his own pocket.
Yeah. Separates you and Brad.
Yep. Brad's a nice guy.
Best in the biz.
We do appreciate it. If you missed what Brad had to say about the women's team, check it out on the podcast page at 107.5thegame.com.
It's been up.
NFL tonight, we got another good one. Way to go. I'm telling you, Jeff Bezos must have paid more money this year because by and large, the Prime Video games on Thursday have been pretty good. And tonight, got a couple of 7-win teams. The Eagles, not so much of a surprise at 7-2. But your Washington Commanders at 7-3, and they've won 3 road games already this season. Jaden Daniels is playing pretty good football. Eagles favored by 4 in this one, but I could see a Washington win, and I think for a lot of NFL fans, it's good to see Washington back in the discussion, especially knowing that they're under new management.
Yeah, and they got a quarterback for the future.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels
I like what he's doing,
good, man. That's rookie of the year.
Yeah.
Got to be right. Got to be.
So far, for sure.
I mean,
who else is? I'm trying
the quarterbacks get a lot of the love. I know Joe Alt's having a solid season with the Chargers. Not as sexy a position from a production standpoint. Really, like Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't lighting the world on fire. He's
been okay.
Yeah, there's not a lot of rookies that are just completely standing out right now. I mean, Jaden Daniels feels like the clear front runner.
Yeah,
it's his to lose.
I would say it's his to lose. I think that's a good way to put it. And finally, speaking of the NFL, interesting. Now, it's not much of a story yesterday. It was really, it almost felt a little bit like a throwaway until people decided to pick it up like an Olympic torch and start running with it all over the place. But Jeremy Fowler, very well connected across the league, covered the Steelers for a long time, covers the entire league for ESPN. Said the following: the once popular trend of plucking college head coaches for NFL jobs has slowed in recent years. All but one of the 32 sitting head coaches came directly from an NFL job. Obviously, the other is Jim Harbaugh, who had an NFL job before. Jeremy continues, recent NFL failures of Urban Meyer and Matt Rule haven't helped the collegiate pipeline, but a league executive I trust brought up an interesting name to me this week: Oregon's Dan Lanning. Quote, "He's got some Dan Campbell to him," the exec said. While Campbell is in his own class right now, Lanning knows how to command a room, and the Ducks are 32-5 since he took over. Anyway, Fowler writes, that's just a potentially intriguing name I'm filing away. And now Andy Staples had a piece on it this morning on his show with Ari Wasserman, and there's been a bunch of articles written about it. I found it interesting. There's going to be probably at least a half dozen available jobs. There's already 2 that are open for sure.
The coaching market will be more open than the quarterback market. We talked about that with Shedeur Sanders in the last hour. Of is the need for quarterbacks going to be as significant in this year's draft as it was, or this year's draft as it was last year's draft? Coaching, maybe. My beloved New Orleans Saints are in the market for a head coach because they let Dennis Allen go.
Yep.
I think there are going to be a lot more. There are going to be many other casualties of the first Monday after the season ends. They call it Black Monday, I guess is the nickname for it. But
I think at least 6, and could be 7 or 8 if things don't work out well. That's our headlines of the day, brought to you by Integrated Media. More Gamecock coaching sound coming up.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely well-coached team. Starting with Coach Drinkwitz does a great job on both sides of the ball and has for a long time. Good recruiter. He's stacked really good recruiting classes, and this will be it's a tough front to get ready for. They've had success against South Carolina in the past. Obviously, we had a couple battles with them when I was at Arkansas, and so we're going to have our hands full this week. It's a good football team. We're looking forward to the challenge.
Dow Loggins on the Missouri defense. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. More from Dow in just a second. I don't want to get Dow in trouble here, but
Do it.
How much does it pain him to say nice things about Eli Drinkwitz?
Probably a lot. I would see. Here's my my theory here. Not theory. It's something I want to know. I want to know this so bad. I want to true serum every coach in the SEC.
Right.
And ask them the question, which coach do you compliment publicly only because you have to and you cringe every time you do it?
Lane Kiffin probably tops the list. But
In terms of
Eli's
answers.
probably right there. Brian Kelly is probably up there.
Definitely.
Stoops.
Do you think Shane would be on any of their lists?
No, I don't. I think guys like Shane, they probably don't like Kirby that much, but like Shane is a good dude. Elko's a good dude.
I know there was the beef.
Heupel's a good dude.
There was the beef with Stoops because Stoops.
Well, because Stoops is the one that did it.
Yeah.
And again, if Mark Stoops wants to criticize Shane's sunglasses, like I said, Mark Stoops' sunglasses look like he just bought a box of them from like when I was 12 in the 80s, and he just kept them in his closet. Or in his trunk. I was like, dude, those what he wears were seriously, they weren't even that popular in 1983. But he still wears them. So yeah, Shane's on the nice guy list. Shane, Elko, Heupel. I don't know enough about Jeff Levy, to be honest with you.
I have my suspicions.
Kalen DeVore seems like a good dude. I think everybody says Napier's a good dude. Venables seems like a pretty good
Napier's
guy.
just too boring to be a bad dude.
But I would say
to be a ruffler of feathers.
My top three for what you just asked, I would guess in order would be Kiffin, Drinkwitz, and then probably Kelly over Stoops, but maybe not. That'd be my guess.
Kelly over Stoops, yeah.
Yeah. You like that? Is that what you were thinking?
How much? Yeah, similar. How much do you think the Brian Kelly fake accent didn't endear himself to maybe other coaches?
I just, you
can tell inauthenticity.
Yeah.
You see it.
I think so. The thing is, he's a good coach. We know he's a good coach. I'm honestly surprised. Well, I guess I'm not anymore. I don't know. Maybe this team this year just isn't quite as good. Maybe they haven't gotten that defense where it needs to be yet. I think maybe they thought they were going to. Because, boy, you wasted something last season. Man, did you waste something last season.
I mean, arguably, is statistically, a better offense than the 19 team.
Yeah.
So he got his own 2019 version of LSU and still lost.
Just go.
Found a way to lose 3 games. Congrats, buddy.
Yeah, but now you can do it, man. You need to go get you a defense.
Or at least learn that quarterbacks, too, can run the ball.
Yes. You can tackle the quarterback.
Show him
if he's
a Mike
carrying
Vick
the ball.
highlight tape.
Yes, if he is running with the football, he is eligible to be tackled. That's a true story.
They should try it sometime.
Speaking of quarterbacks that can run, let's get back into some more sound from Dow Loggins. A little bit longer cut here, but I think y'all will want to hear it. This is Dow talking about how much he is seeing from Lenore Sellers.
Yeah, he was a guy, and I've said it in front of you guys a million times since I knew the expectations, what they were coming this season for the kid from the outside. It doesn't happen like that. You got to play, and the only way to get better is to play. So for him, he needed to go out there and play, and each week he plays, he gets better because he's smart. A smart player can correct his mistakes. The smart player doesn't make the same mistakes twice. He doesn't have a big Rolodex of plays, and so you don't have a lot to recall. Like Coach Spence, he'd be like, "Hey, Iowa State did this to us 2 years ago." Well, Lenore's is banking reps every day, every play at practice. What makes it work for him is he's so mature for his age. Like a lot of they're kids. He's a redshirt freshman. He shouldn't be playing. He shouldn't be. So for him is like filing those reps away and banking reps and not making the same mistake twice. He's done a really good job to this point, and I expect him to be playing the way he is. And I couldn't be more proud of him for being where he's at. But he's just getting started. And we knew that. We knew we had a really talented player that needed some time to grow and to succeed and deal with adversity and deal with prosperity and all those things, and be able to say, hey, like, now all of a sudden I'm getting some pats on the back like when I was the backup last year, because everyone loves the backup quarterback. And all of a sudden you play and it's like, oh, wow, it's hard. And you feel the pressures of trying to do well for your teammates and trying to play up to your own standard, to your coach's standard. So Lenoris is right where he needs to be, and that's keep getting better, staying focused at the task at hand on this game. And the only thing we want to see from him is, like, you're judged as a quarterback on how many times can you get the team in the end zone. And there's been some Superman plays, and people call him Houdini, about, you know, people like, hey, how's Houdini, all this other stuff. He's got to keep taking care of the ball, making good decisions, and know when the journey's over, and do all those things that we talked about when it wasn't the most pretty thing in the world, and we were struggling to get through some of these hard times. But you don't get through things, you grow through them, and he had to grow through these things, and so that's why I'm proud of him.
Yeah, you can hear it almost, you know, right in his voice. Like, that's why I read. But there's things in there that you just hear, and no one's been riding Lenoris, you know, from a fan perspective. You know, this is, you know, some fan bases will get on guys for different things, and yes, there was disappointment at the Alabama game, especially. You know, it wasn't Lenoris' fault he got hurt against LSU. But what I've been impressed with is twofold, Elijah. From a coaching staff perspective, Shane, from the end of last season, never wait. Now, look, they brought Robbie in to make sure that there was competition, and my words here, a bit of an insurance policy, but they never wavered. They wanted Lenoris to know he was their guy, and build him up like that. And then know as well that he was going to take some lumps, you know? And that's why we talked about it in the Alabama game. Like, hey, you know, two things can be true. You can lose a game and still be happy with a level of progression from your leader. And, you know, we pointed that out. Some didn't want to hear that. Some perfectly understood it. I'd say the perfectly understood definitely outweighed those that didn't, but that's okay. That's what sports fans are for. But the kid just, you know, he seems unflappable, man. And I think Dowell is basically saying those kind of things, like, go take your lumps, we got you and you got us. And you hear that in Dowell's voice when he says things like that. What he's proud of is that he's coachable, he's learning, and he's taking it all in stride. I don't want to get too sappy about it, but I think he's come a long way rather quickly.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, yes. Especially when it comes to throwing the ball confidently, especially on the move, or knowing when the play is breaking down and when to just run for it, right? I think the perfect encapsulation of that is the Vanderbilt game where he's getting tackled near the goal line. He breaks the tackle, gets up, he rolls to his left a little bit and finds Jared Brown down the field, even though he could have run a little bit, finds Jared Brown down the field, makes the pass, completes the pass.
Beautifully. It floated it in. Just so nice.
A similar thing happened in the Oklahoma game. Rolls out to the right, breaks the tackle, finds, I believe it was Michael Smith down the sideline.
Yep.
And then those two plays were very similar to the one he didn't make in the Alabama game with Gage Larvidan, where it's the first time we really see him break a couple tackles in the backfield, roll out, throw the ball down the sideline, and it's just a smidge too high. Sure, could Gage have caught that? Yeah, but you want it to be down a little bit. He just misses the throw by a little bit. That very same throw he makes against Oklahoma. He makes against Vanderbilt. You see that type of progression with him throughout the year, and you see him now figuring out his strength, which is breaking tackles in the backfield too, and then just picking up extra yards, not taking the hits, picking up the extra yards, and his confidence is going through the roof too, and I think that's also encapsulated by the running over of B.J. Mays, the baptism of B.J. Mays at Williams-Brice Stadium. I think that's a pretty good indication that the guy knows exactly what he is good at right now.
We'll come back with a drive around the SEC, include a little more sound from Clayton White on what his defense has been doing of late, especially after halftime, and continue to get you ready for the weekend action across the conference. You're listening to the Postgame Show.
Oh, man. Jay and I were talking about it earlier. Big game in the NFL tonight. Washington and Philadelphia. And as much as a football lover in me will be watching that just to see the high-flying action and what it will be a very competitive football game, but I got a little skin in the game. My friends over at Prize Picks, it's my favorite daily fantasy sports app, and tonight, Jaden Daniels, I'm going less than 226.5 pass yards. Really all in on that Philadelphia secondary. Brian Robinson Jr., I'm going more than 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns. And A.J. Brown, one of the best receivers in the NFL, quietly having a great season. I'm going more than 82.5 receiving yards. You can play as well. Just pick more or less on at least 2 players from different teams for a shot to win up to 100 times your money. I'm having a blast with this, and you can do the same. Download the app today. Use promo code 1075GAME, and you'll get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to that are causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon, and we have a lot of them. So we're going to start with one on Assembly Street at Calhoun Street, Columbiana Drive near Broad River Road, Divine Street near Woodrow Street, Flora Drive at Sloan Road, Highway 1 at Augusta Road near Alpine Road, 77 northbound at Fort Jackson Boulevard near Exit 10, 77 southbound at Bluff Road near Exit 5, Lincoln Street near Calhoun Street, Piney Woods Road at Broad River Road, Pisgah Church Road at US 1, St. Andrews Road near Bush River Road, Sumter Street near Wheat Street, and US 378 near I-26.
It is Drive Around the SEC time on this Thursday. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay and Elijah with you. Obviously, you can go to secsports.com and get all of the football availability reports. So I am not going to sit here and go over all those. Again, only 4 games this weekend in conference play. But I think the 3 biggest names, and including one that's not on a list, I'll give you. Nico Iamaleava, when it comes to Tennessee going down to Athens, is listed as questionable in that same game. Trevor Etienne is, questionable as well.
Trevor Etienne.
Trevor Etienne.
Trevor and Travis. Well, that trips me up so frequently.
Trevor Etienne.
It is Trevor. Yeah,
and
it's still in college.
In the game here in Columbia, Brady Cook, again, listed officially as doubtful, as is Missouri wide receiver Mookie Cooper. I think, look, Brady's dealing with a throwing hand injury, and so he's just not able to go. But something tells me that they've probably been working on him, and that, I don't know, I think by tomorrow night, I would say tonight he's still listed as doubtful.
Yeah.
I think tomorrow night he goes to questionable.
Can they have one that says hopeful?
No, well, they could. You should just throw in
funny.
words. Just throw, that would be kind of funny.
Why limit yourself to just, doubtful, questionable, probable, or out? What you should do is just be able to put any adjective you want in there. Hopeful. You can put me down there as frisky. That's my availability report. What's my availability report for Saturday? Frisky, baby. I'm feeling it. Let's get us some nighttime football. Some SEC football. Elijah Campbell is limited as frisky. You can try to have some fun. The possibilities are endless here. Maybe that's what I should have asked Shane on Tuesday. Shane, what is your availability for Saturday night? How are you feeling, buddy? Optimistic?
Or just ask if, hey, wouldn't you rather change these up for things like that?
Yeah. See, this is getting bland. It was all fun when we first started it, saying doubtful.
Right.
Probable, questionable, out, active.
Like hell's no, or frisky.
How about ready to bleep and party on one? There's so many we could do where we could have a lot more fun with this. See, this is why Greg's thinking he needs to hire me as the director of fun.
Well, and as we've said, too, this is also why they should have listened to us about the Texas cage match in terms of how to settle who's going to play for the SEC championship.
Fewer headaches.
Yeah. But they didn't. They want to do it, all buttoned up.
See, this is why listeners here in Columbia, South Carolina, and Florence and Myrtle Beach, they get the inside track.
That's what we're doing.
We got the side and total. Everything you need here.
Yeah, we'd love to go 5-0 for you.
On a recorded message.
LSU at Florida this weekend is now bigger for whom? I guess it's still LSU, right? Because they only have the second conference loss.
They still have a chance to backdoor their way into the SEC championship game. And at this point, it's not even like backdooring your way into the championship game. You're back flipping into the championship game while being undercut. There is no, they are not even trying. I'm not saying not trying to win games because they've looked really bad in losses. That's the thing. You are getting into the SEC championship game on accident.
Yeah.
You still have a chance to do that accidentally after forgetting quarterbacks are allowed to run the ball too. But they still have a chance ahead of them to do this.
If what I think is going to happen is accurate by the end of the season, then, and in no particular order, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, A&M, and Texas will all be 6-2 in conference play.
What a mess. Because I think A&M might beat Texas.
I do. I think A&M is going to beat Texas. I think LSU will win out its conference games. I think Georgia will beat Tennessee. I don't think Alabama will lose again. And Tennessee will beat Vanderbilt. That's what we're going to have.
That's a lot of 10-2s, man.
Yeah, that's what we're going to have. Well, 6-2.
Yeah,
a lot of 6-2s.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to have. Have fun, Greg. Cage match.
All you had to do is listen.
If we get that, and I'm not even going to attempt to hazard looking through because listen, at this point, there is way too much math to look at.
There's just so much too that can happen. I think this will be perfect for going into the last week of the season for saying, what do we need to do to get to the last possible tiebreaker for a coin flip? Because that's what I want to know. I attempted to do this, and my brain started to hurt because I'm then trying to play God with the schedule here and say, like, okay, this team will lose here, meaning what? And then if this happens, then what? If I can limit it down to a week, then I can maybe come up with the dream scenario, which is what all has to happen to get to the almighty coin toss.
If that's what it is. There's not one where they have to, like, pull names out of a hat, right?
Not yet.
Okay.
After next year.
Because if they do that, like I've seen before, like in some of these things where they draw like the ball out of the bowl and pull it out, and like somebody, or like when they've had the rumor of the NBA draft lottery where one of them was like in the freezer, and so it was cold and you knew which one, like
the Patrick Ewing envelope.
Yeah, that one.
The Knicks envelope.
And they've accused, they don't do it the same way anymore, but like in Champions League draws, they said that, oh, well, some of those balls that they pulled out of the bowl were cold, and they knew that was Barcelona, or that was, and pull that one now so that it, whatever. An SEC fan, like if it were Alabama and Texas, right, that were drawn out, like I knew the fix was in.
Oh, see, here's a great idea how you cannot fix this, right? You get a bunch of stuffed animals. You write down team names evenly. So say there's like, how many teams do we have tied for?
6.
So
right. Well,
6.
It's Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, LSU. Yeah, 6.
Okay. So let's say you have 8 each. There's 48 stuffed animals here, and you get the little crane thingy, right? But they're inside the stuffed animal. Right. It's sewn inside, almost like a heart of a Build-A-Bear.
Sure.
So you have all of this inside this crane, or in this crane machine, and Greg Sankey has to float it around and pick one up and then drops it into the chute. Open it up. That's team number 1. Then you put some more quarters in the machine. You do the crane thing again. You pick another one up. That's team number 2. There you go.
But you know what the problem would be? 47 of them would have Alabama.
We have drawn Alabama 10 straight times. What are the odds?
That's what would happen.
They're only supposed to be 8 each.
Yeah. And the other one would be Texas. Now, right?
Yeah. Oh, the conspiracy theories amongst the A&M and Tennessee fan bases alone that would be concocted, even if that was the method.
It would say Georgia scratched out, and then handwritten would be Texas.
They didn't put Tennessee in any of them.
That's right.
That's exactly what that's the type of stuff you'd hear.
Yes. So,
could you imagine the TV viewership of that? That would be fun.
Oh, it'd be great. Well, whatever they do to ultimately decide, they should have a TV camera on it. SEC Network content, man. I mean, do it. Have Dari in there and Doring, Peter Burns, like with a walking mic, just hanging around, like different things going on in the room.
Having it at Greg Sankey's face as he's playing the crane game.
Right. I mean, why not? Alyssa can be, Alyssa will be ready to talk to whoever gets to participate.
She will also get to interview the Bears that get chosen.
That's right. That's right. I do. I think that's going to happen, man. I really do. Right now,
the 6-way tie or the crane.
I'd love that, but no, the 6. I think there's going to be. I do. I think there's going to be 6-2 records. I do.
That would be kind of awesome.
I'm not
going to lie.
I think that's going to happen.
Really 2007-ifying this season.
So now I'm going to be really, really mad at Tennessee if they beat Georgia and screw it all up.
And mess up the dream scenario.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you're Greg Sankey, you kind of want Tennessee to win this game. That way you don't have to.
Because he didn't want it. Yeah, he didn't want any of that.
And then you need Texas to beat A&M. Or actually, it wouldn't even matter who wins Texas and A&M as long as.
It would still matter.
Because.
The winner would. Yes, at that point, yes, if Tennessee wins this weekend and everything else kind of holds with chalk, then then Tennessee would be playing the winner of that game. So, yes, it would not matter. The winner of that game would be in. Yes.
Almost how unsatisfying would it be?
Yeah, I don't
Texas
want that.
and Texas
I'm not here
A&M.
for that.
Tennessee and Texas A&M was the SEC championship game. They're both really good teams, but have we ever thought those were the 2 best teams in the SEC all season long?
No, not this year.
No.
But if Tennessee finishes 7-1
in the league, it's hard to dispute.
Yeah.
If they both finish 7-1 in the league, it's still hard to dispute.
Yeah, at that
because
point,
at that point A&M will have had to beat Texas. Tennessee will have had to have beaten Alabama
and Georgia. That's good. That's good.
That would seem fair.
Yeah, it would. More sound from Clayton White coming up. We'll continue the drive around the SEC. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of the postgame show, continuing to drive around the SEC because we were having so much fun there with potential tiebreaker scenarios. Y'all should send us in your, like, what would you, if you could have, especially if there is that 6-way tie that I am currently predicting. What should we do?
See, what's really funny was we did this bit in the summer a little bit, kind of as a joke in case it ever really got down to having to get to like a coin toss or anything like that. But the closer we're getting to the last week in November, this is slowly becoming a reality, slowly shaping into something that could be very, very real. And it was just a joke, a gag, a bit back in the summer. But now it's real, Jay Phillips. It's real.
I'm here for it. And again, if you just tuned in during the commercial break, I'm predicting that 6 SEC schools will finish the conference season 6-2, and that's all that matters in terms of the SEC title game. And then there's a whole series of tiebreakers, that involves a lot of math. There's head-to-head, and so you can probably eliminate a few pretty quickly, things like that. Like Alabama beat LSU. But, I don't know. Anyway.
There's been so much cannibalism within the conference.
Yeah. But that's what I think is going to happen. But again, if Tennessee screws it up, I'm going to be mad at Tennessee this weekend.
Ruin the dream scenario.
Yeah.
For all of us.
But, if Georgia can't run the football, Tennessee's going to win this weekend, so it doesn't really matter.
I mean, and Dylan Sampson seems to be good to go.
Yeah, and he's
that's
good. Yeah, he's
really
ready.
the most important part of Tennessee's offense.
It might look like a 1960s Georgia-Tennessee game. Final score, Tennessee 10, Georgia 6. But a win's a win.
A win's a win.
So
I'm dying for a 6-4 final score.
No, you're not.
I kind of.
Is that a night game? Or is that the 3:30?
I think it's the night game.
I should probably know that. Hang on, I can tell you real quick.
Like
10%. Yep, night game. Night game, 7:30. All right. Let's get one more here from Coach Clayton White, who's speaking ahead of, what are we doing, number 15, please, Mr. Campbell. This is Coach White on what they're doing to make quality adjustments defensively at halftime.
The key is really going into the halftime and just, taking a good look at what we're doing. And if we're playing well, you expect them to change. If you're not playing well, kind of like that, A&M second quarter, they're probably going to do what they did the second quarter. So we have to make the adjustment. So you got to make that quick decision. You probably got about 10 minutes to really make some evaluation and really make a decision, basically. And so I give the credit to our players because, A&M game, we switched a lot of things up. So at least 5 things that we went in there and said, hey, this is what we're doing the time they do this, and on and on and on. We never stop talking at halftime. But our guys adjusted. But to me, it goes back to us in January. We start football school right in this room here, and it's all about learning what offenses do. And you either go to take it serious or you're not, because I tell them it's gonna be one halftime this year when I go in there and I say, when they give us this formation, you check to this. When they give us this, you check to that. And you have to get it done really fast. So, but it starts back from our homework from January. But I was proud of how they've been doing it at halftime. So they want adjustments.
Yeah, you want them. That's just it. And players can tell him certain things too. But I think it's interesting to say that. Like, okay, you would think if you, the defense, hey, if you're doing your job, you don't change anything. In person.
Let's go.
Langston is in town, and he will be with us tomorrow at Columbia Craft. So we're looking forward to doing that. Y'all come on down. Elijah's got some friends coming in who are going to be loud and boisterous. And,
That's right.
By like the third hour, if you thought the last time we were there, Elijah was adventurous, and he was.
Yes, it was.
Tomorrow could be a whole different animal.
Oh, the boys are in town.
Yeah, so. I remember.
I'm bringing a squad with me.
I remember
people understand.
My buddies and I in our 20s, man. So I'm not going to necessarily say that I envy what you'll be doing this weekend, but I fondly remember those days.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, and they have gotten an Airbnb out in Gilbert by Lake Murray. So it is we're going to have fun. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it will.
And this is like for a few of us here in this group, it's our last year of our 20s.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's going out with a bang.
Well, you may as well.
Some of them are a little younger. But.
Find a way. Find a way. On that note, remind you that the new craft beer card has arrived. So, you want to have some extra fun. Just $59. You save around $300. 1075thegame.com. Sweet deals. And our friends at Columbia Craft are part of that card. And again, they'll be hosting us tomorrow from 3 until 6. We'll have Langston. We'll have a lot of football sounds, some sound from Shane, the picks contest. Looking forward to it. Y'all have a very safe and enjoyable Thursday, and we'll see you tomorrow. Listen, Elijah might wake up in a couple of days feeling something, but I don't know if our friends at the Joint Chiropractic Center can help that or not.
Dang.
But if you're bothered by back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, or other joint pain, the Joint Chiropractic Centers are ready to get you back in the game. And here's even better news. You never need an appointment, and you never have to worry about insurance. You can be in and out quickly. They're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 7, Saturdays, 10 to 4. Now, you may say, Jay, I've never even been to a chiropractic center. I don't know what to expect. Well, here's the good news. For just $29, you can get an initial visit that includes an exam, an adjustment, and a consultation. So ask those questions, and really learn what it is that they can do for you. Janet and Bob Keene are the longtime local owners of the Joint Centers here in Columbia, and they just want to make sure that you're feeling better. Again, it's convenient, it's affordable, you maintain a healthy body, you prevent reoccurring issues. Harbison, Forest Drive, Roberts Branch, Sunset. That's where they are. Check them out, thejoint.com.